Okay, there we go. Well, hey everyone, this is the kind of second start to the webinar. I've just hit the record button. Apologies, you've missed the first sort of 10 minutes or so. That's my bad. Hey Alina, asking about Webinar Ninja. We're looking into Webinar Ninja. I'm not sure about the state of their API though. If you, apologies if I'm asking the wrong person here. If you happen to have access to like somebody from them, or you've got the details of their API documentation, it doesn't take us long to add individual connections. We're happy to look into just about any service. We haven't found any details for them yet. Admittedly, we haven't spent a great deal of time looking. I'm not sure they provide the kind of connections that we need. If they do, we're definitely happy to look into it. Hey, Richard. Richard's asking about using Convertri in conjunction with a Shopify store. So it would Shopify can kind of be run in a bunch of different modes. And okay, sorry. First of all, full disclosure, I'm not a great Shopify guy. It's not something I've done much with. So you should. I'm happy to answer like very technical questions. I'll give you my best effort guesses on stuff, but you certainly shouldn't listen to my marketing advice about Shopify until I do more research and get into it. We have a Shopify element, which makes it nice and easy to get buy buttons onto the page. Alternatively, what we see a lot of people doing is they make a landing page in Convertri, and then they have a link off from there to their Shopify like buy page or whatever. So the landing page that, for example, the paid traffic runs to is just a Convertri page. It's not attached to Shopify in any way at all. And then there's a link to send people through, because once they've kind of read your landing page, they're a lot more likely to wait around for Shopify to load. You can take advantage of their functionality that way. Oh, okay, Jim. I stand corrected. I will have to ask the development team about that then. So, sorry, Jim, say the plugin is actually responsive, but doesn't work with the iframe navigation. I will let me scribble a note down to myself to find out about that. If I forget, can you? Sorry, I'm very scatterbrained today, and I do apologise. Please, if you don't hear back, if I don't post something in the group or whatever, or get back to you, please bung that question in the group. I'm not dodging it. I'm happy to answer it, but I will have to ask the dev team to find out some details. Blaz, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, is asking if we're planning to add another breakpoint to the viewport, and if not, why. We don't have any plans to add a tablet breakpoint at the moment. Tablet usage is not, compared to mobile and desktop, tablet usage is still low, and it works fine to display like the scaled down version of desktop or a mobile version. It's creating a third version is not amazingly worthwhile. It's not something we're planning to do at the moment. Particularly because of the way the freeform editor works. When you work with a block-based editor, creating the other versions is a bit quicker, but it restricts you a lot in what you can do. But because adding another breakpoint would require basically doing a second set of edits, we've decided not to go down that route. Jim asked what the schedule is for our upcoming launch. So we've got the launch in inverted commas. It's a relaunch. It's not really a launch. It's just a marketing event. Any of you that have been with us for some time now know that it's not like we save up a load of features to announce all in one go. We release what we've done every week. It's a marketing event, not a launch really, but the industry calls it a launch. Anyway, the magic day is the 31st of October. That's when the cart itself will open. We'll do like the dog and pony show. I'll run a demo webinar for potential new customers and so on. For the week before that, we've got an entire pre-launch planned. We hired a film crew and went to a film studio for a week. I don't really like getting on camera. I'm nervous enough doing these webinars as it is, so it was quite a stressful week for me. But we did do the whole thing in front of in a video studio. So we've got three pieces of pre-launch content to kind of introduce us and Convertri to a wider audience. I doubt it'll be amazingly interesting to you guys who are already quite familiar with us, but for new people who don't know who we are, don't know what the software's about, we've got a kind of general. There's video one is Neil and I sat on a sofa just having like a conversation about Convertri, how the idea came about, the things we care about, and so on. Video two, we got an actor to come in and we worked with him to build him a website for his acting courses that he sells kind of live on camera. We chose an actor purely because we wanted somebody comfortable on camera. Like it was, we make it clear he is an actor. He sells acting courses, but we didn't want somebody who was just going to be as nervous as we were on camera. We kind of wanted a professional. So that's video two. That's quite cool. And then video three is this sort of shock and awe show reel. We've got a bunch of like customer testimonials, a list of all the features we've added since the original launch, and so on. And then that all leads up to the 5-day kind of marketing event fanfare. Cool. Sorry, I'm just reading a slightly longer question. 2 seconds. We only support, so the question is about having basically multiple forms on the page. We only support, you can have multiple forms on a page if you use the API integrations, but we don't support submitting those forms to different places. Ultimately, they all submit to the same place. So you can't have opt-ins going off to 3 different places. I would also suggest that, from the way you've phrased your question, it sounds like certainly in your experience it has helped, but certainly in my past experience, having like different things to opt in proves distracting rather than increasing opt-in rates. My experience is you'll generally get the best result having like one super duper thing they really want rather than 2 or 3 things they might want and giving them the choice. Choice on landing pages tends to be a bad thing. Cool. I really appreciate you guys hanging around today. Thank you so much. It makes me feel better. We seem to have only one less attendee now than at the start of the call, when I was basically like, "Hey guys, we've got issues, and and I'm not even doing the demo I promised you." So it's really cool to me that you guys hung around for the Q&A section, which is the bit I like best anyway. So thank you. That's really cheered me up on an otherwise quite naff day. Jeff's asking, using the API, can you confirm an email address? You can with pretty much everyone except MailChimp. We need to add an option to kind of, sorry, a quick bit of background to this. With MailChimp, when you use their form code, you have to have double opt-in. The only way to do single opt-in with MailChimp is via an API integration. When we added the API integration, one of the main motivations was to open up single opt-in, and it got overlooked that some people might want to do APIs, but with double opt-in. So you can't do that at the moment. We need to add the ticky box and then set the API mode for which you want. Yeah. I figured MailChimp was probably the one in question, because that's the awkward one. They make things a little bit hard on people. I don't really know why they only allow single opt-in via the autoresponder. and also don't do, like most people, it's single or double opt-in based on the list they're being added to. So it doesn't really matter whether you use a form, use the API, or whatever. Somebody gets on the list, and then the list understands, does this need a confirmation? But with MailChimp, it's the kind of the method of adding which has that understanding. So we need to open that up in Convertri to let you like tick a box to say I want double opt-in when these people are added. Cool. Have we got anyone who's it's their first time on one of these webinars today? Oh, I see. Sorry, Jeff. Jeff says he hates MailChimp's double opt-in. He just needs to know that the customer has typed their address correctly. So we can do like part of that. For example, we can't check that the address is a real one. If I type like adney at convertri.com or whatever, like we can't pick up the typo, but you can turn on like email verification in Convertri for the form field. You can say, this should have an email in it, and if it's not an email, it won't submit. You can do that part of it. I'm not sure if that's the bit you're asking about. Sadiqa asks if opting forms can sign up to multiple lists if you have a JV partner. So, sort of. It definitely has to use the API integrations from there, and then you can have it submit to multiple autoresponders. So you could add it to a different list, like one on Aweber, one on MailChimp, one on GetResponse. You can add them to a webinar at the same time. You can do as many of those as you want, but you can't add them to two lists on the same service because it has to be the account that's linked to your account in Convertri. So if they use Aweber and you use MailChimp, yes. If you both use MailChimp, then no. Sorry, Jeff, you want to send them a custom... sorry, could you clarify a bit what you're after, please? No worries, Sadiqa. Happy to answer. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Ron asks if you've got a form with 3 areas of interest, for example, video marketing, email marketing, content marketing, in order to decide what list to send them to so they get emails that pertain to what they're interested in, is that possible to create? Currently, not really. We're, in fact, certainly what we're going to add drop-down fields in the near future, which will let you, for example, have information on a single list. But what it won't let you do is just at the time pick a different list to add them on based on what they select. That tends to be, I think that's generally pretty true of most services. So like you capture people onto a single list and then capture information about them that lets you kind of filter them after that rather than putting them specifically on a different list. That's certainly how I've always used it. If you've got an example of another service that does do it differently, I'd love to see it because that does sound like quite cool functionality. Jim asks if you can use multiple forms on the same page. So you can have multiple forms on the same page as long as you use the API integrations, but the multiple forms must submit to the same place. There are like multiple instances of the same form. You can't have like one form that submits to place A and one form that submits to place B on the same page, but you can have like the fields multiple times. So you could have like one on the page and another in the pop-up layer. Yeah, you could certainly. So Jeff's asking if, for example, you want somebody to opt in and then basically send them to another form that they need to fill out in order to receive the offer. Yeah, you could definitely do that via. I mean, pretty much just create another opt-in. So, for example, opt-in one would be just name an email or just email. Um, the only annoyance from that, unless you want to do some like custom JavaScripting or whatever, is that you will need to include the email on the second form as well, so you can match the data up, and so it will actually submit someone. Because every autoresponder wants an email address when it's added. It's quite hard to support that sort of two-step specifically on separate pages. It's something we are working on because we get it requested quite a lot. But yeah, so basically treat it as two separate opt-ins to two separate offers, and you just happen to send them the second one when they fill in the first. Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay. Jeff says there was a typo in his question, saying he says wants to send them a message, not a form. So yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know how you would automate delivery, but so you could certainly have an opt-in form on the page, which they enter their name and email for argument's sake, and then auto-responder message one is send your automatic reply, and it's like, in order to claim your freebie, you need to hit reply to this email and answer the question, send me a message, talk to me, whatever it happens to be you want them to do. The only thing that would then be manual is you would need someone at the other end of that email address. So, or I guess you could have it email. The reply would end up in a Google email box with an automated response which does the delivery. I mean, it means even if they like reply to you saying, like, if they just typed a load of gobbledygook, they'd still get the message saying here's the freebie, but that would automate it. Or you could have a VA check the inbox and then only send it out to legitimate inquiries. It probably depend on what your offer is and how much you care. Does that help? Please feel free to ask if any part of that wasn't clear. Of course. Question is, it's probably very. How do you create a standalone button that's just a link without it being part of the form? If you open up the form controls and drag what is, I think it's labeled submit, you get a button. If you set a link on that button, it will stop being a submit button and it will just be a link when they click it. There's specific behavior built into Convertri, but it's not very obvious that happens. So yeah, just use a submit button, set a link on it, and then it will just be a link. It will no longer be a submit button. The UI could definitely be better on that. Awesome. I hope that helped, Jeff. I don't think my explaining abilities are as good as they usually are. So please do ask if any of it was unclear. No problem. I like nice, easy questions like that. That was a good one. Cool. Is it? Sorry, I started asking this earlier. Is there anyone on the call today that hasn't been on one of these before? I'd love to know who you are and where you're from. Like I see some of the regular names popping up. It'd be cool to get to know some of you. Jim asks if you have a link on the submit button, will it still submit the form? No. Once you set a link on the submit button, it is only a link. It will no longer submit the form because when you click it, it will just take you to that link, take you to that URL. It won't. It can either be a link or a submit button. It can't be both. Sadiqa asked if there are any plans for Convertri to have its own email system. Yeah, definitely. This is one of the things we really want to get stuck into Q1 next year. I think. I really want to. We're a little unsure. There's basically the key choice that we've still got to make is whether we want to be an autoresponder that sends people's emails, so it's our SMTP account that's sending the emails, or if we're going to provide autoresponder functionality, but you guys provide your own SMTP account. There's pros and cons to both. If obviously we can charge a lot more if we're sending the emails, that's a distinctive hard part for it. And managing things like spam complaints and all of that rubbish on our SMTP account, that is that's hard because there are always scammers in this world. And that would mean we would have to limit things. For example, importing of lists. You wouldn't just be able to import your leads into Convertri because it would be our SMTP account at risk. So the other way we could go is that we build the autoresponder functionality and then you guys provide an SMTP account separately, which we would charge a lot less for that because we don't have to send the emails, and we could open up some really cool functionality like just importing lists from anywhere, because then it's your SMTP account at risk. If you import a load of leads that are you shouldn't have access to, it's you that's going to get shut down, not us. But if you're using it for just importing a list from somewhere else, then it's your account. You can do what you like with it. So that's kind of the trade-off. That's the big decision we still have to take. But yes, this is definitely something that we want to get into. Yes, that's right. So Jim asked if you can put a redirect link after submit. So we'll kind of do both. Yeah, absolutely. So when you set up, if it's an API integration, for example, it will prompt you to set the destination link after submit, and that's where it's sent to. Or if it's if you're using an HTML form, it will be whatever the action is on the form that you import. And either way, yes, they're definitely going to another place after it's been submitted. It's just that you're not making the button a link to do that. You're making it a submit button and setting where it's submitted to, or where they're sent afterwards. Sorry, it's a little bit confusing. That's where we start to get into kind of how browsers work, which we do our best to make it so you guys don't have to care. But sometimes these things leak through. So while people are typing their next questions, I'm just going to do a little bit of an update on kind of where we're at with some of the things we're adding. So we are well underway with integrating PayPal, so you can use them as a payment processor. We are going to be looking at, we've got this a really slick looking kind of introductory tutorial for when people first use the editor, which will mean absolutely nothing to anyone in this group because you're all already using it, I think. But for new users, that should be really shiny. So we're quite excited about that in a way. You guys probably aren't. Then things we're tackling in the editor are going to be hover styles, drop downs and radio buttons for kind of choices in a form. Then animations, sliders, and sticky footers. Please note they're not necessarily in that order. They're the things that are next on the block for adding into the editor. We're planning to look at remobilizing how stuff is mobilized at the moment, because the mobile algorithm is kind of the whole page or nothing. We quite want to make it so that you can mobilize individual sections. We think that would be very useful. to have. And we've also got updates coming for our content delivery network, which will do things, for example, like you will be able to force SSL for pages, which is particularly important if you're using Stripe, and doing GeoIP page variations. So you'll be able to set like show this page to this locale and show this page otherwise, which should be quite cool. I love you, Jim. Jim says if we implement that stuff, we will be his hero even more than now. Yeah, well, I mean, it's next on the list, and in fact, I've got some really good news on that front. We last week we hired a new developer to join our team. As yeah, well, we say this a lot in our marketing materials that we want more people to buy it, so we can just hire more staff to build more stuff. That really is true. Like Neil and I cash out just enough money to pay, to like eat and live. We're not driving Ferraris and sipping cocktails. Basically, when more people buy the software, we spend it on more staff to build more cool stuff, and we passed the threshold. So we have a new developer. Last week he did our trial assignment, and he did really well on it, which was very cool. So on Monday he will be starting on new functionality. It's a big code base. I don't expect him to be like super productive. I don't think you'll see it going any faster like in the first week, but that will certainly add to our ability to build cool features. So I'm really excited about that because I like new things for our software as much as you guys do. So Chris, I used to have a problem setting up predefined colors. Couldn't type hex codes in. Have we developed a solution for that? No, we don't. I've got some options that don't involve rebuilding the whole damn editor yet, but I have to make this apology on a regular basis. So when we originally built Convertri, I like to think I made quite a few good tech choices. There were two that I made very badly. One was not using an iframe for the page that you're editing, which means because browsers don't support multiple selections, you can't highlight some text and then type somewhere else. If you highlight the text, typing somewhere else clears that selection. And that's why when you can type a hex code for like the background color of a panel, because you're just using our version of selection. But when you highlight text, you're using the browser's version of selection, and to type somewhere else would lose that selection and we wouldn't know what text to set it on. So something that looks like it should be painfully simple is incredibly hard to fix. That's number one. And the other one I got wrong is how we do undo redo, which makes undos on large pages very, very slow. That's another one of the big tech choices that I regret. We as in both these cases, we could have just done it differently and it wouldn't be this painful, but we didn't, so it is, and we will have to fix it in quite a heavy way at some point. Sorry. Steaker asks if we'll be adding tutorials to support agency users, for example, getting clients for landing pages and funnels, types of service to provide. We certainly will be. I don't know what form it's going to take yet. The current thinking is that we kind of want two chunks of stuff. So there's forgive my scatterbrain today. So we definitely want to provide a load of cool stuff. We're potentially not the best people to provide it. We would like to involve, we know a lot of great marketers who do a lot more like selling in that way than we do. So we'd like to provide, a set of like getting started modules ourselves, which we're more than qualified to produce. We've done enough of it for that, but then have some partner products that we can introduce you guys to. That obviously, will cost additional money, but they will give you much better insight than perhaps we're able to offer. So we're not entirely sure what form that's going to take yet. Oh, interesting one, Robert. Robert asks, on the PayPal integration, will it include the option to select PayPal's 6-month credit selection? which is overlooked in a lot of integrations. And he realizes it's a US audience only option. Okay, so I'm in the UK and I don't really know what that is. So I'm very happy to look into it. Is there any chance you can tell me a bit more about like what it is, how it works, what I should be looking for, please, Robert? Yeah, Richard asks if there's a service available for someone who's familiar with Convertri for a fee to produce pages. We offer Convertri design services ourselves. Sorry, two parts to that answer. If you don't want to work with us directly, then post in the Facebook group. There's a whole bunch of people who provide Convertri professional services. If you'd like to work with us, then I mean, you can also just post it in the group and we'll see it. We do have a design services department. We'll do like stuff for you. Design, relatively speaking, designs tend to be pretty cheap compared to the competition. For like basically pages where we have to write your copy and like do the marketing as well tend to be quite expensive because our copy team are all very experienced. We don't have access to kind of like general staff that could take a load off there. So it tends to be a bit more expensive. But particularly if you know what you want your pages to say and you want them made in Convertri, we can do that for you very fast and pretty cheaply. Oh, thanks, Jim. Jim says the exceptions that get attention. He thinks we did more good than bad. I like to think so, but yeah, it does feel really painful. Like there's plenty of stuff like the Convertri either doesn't do as well as it could, or is just a bit broken. But it's like we haven't worked on it yet, so I don't feel bad about there being stuff that we haven't done yet. Like Convertri's huge; it will continue to grow. Those things I don't lose sleep over. Those two I always mention really grind me because they are purely a case of if I had made a different technical decision 18 months ago, the problem would just not be there for the same amount of work. Which is hence it's a bit like I wish I wish I'd known then what I know now. Yeah, if you'd like to produce some agency tutorials, Jim, I'm definitely up for doing a combined offer. Either if you'd like to do like some introductory ones to just sort of introduce yourself to people that we just give away, that would be great. Considering your experience, I'd love for you to put together like a paid course as well that we can do some kind of venture on. That would be fantastic. Jeff's asked if you can reset the visitor count bubbles on pages. You can so you can reset. You can set like a count people from here for the like conversion rate tracking. You can't currently reset the like overall count as the ones in like the purple tags. They're just all time for this page. I really want to get into analytics in a big way. Hopefully this year, definitely Q1 if not. That's one of the big areas I really want to do more with because we have so much data on pages that we're just not exposing that we just need to build an interface for. And again, this is an hours in the day thing. There's always more to work on than we have time for. But I'd love to expose a bunch of that data rather than it just being this, this page has had this many people look at it. And you're a bit like, well, it's great. But like, who were they? Where were they from? What devices were they using? What size were their screens? Like we have all of this data in Snowplow in our analytics solution. We need to expose it. I really want to get onto that. Oh yeah, great question, Sadiqa. Asking if we've got tutorials for fixing pages created via the page importer, i.e., like what are the common issues it has. Yeah, we're getting started on those. Hopefully in the next week or so, even. Basically, we've been while the page importer's been in beta, we've been trying to fix as many of those issues as we can. We're starting to reach the point where the page importer just can't know what to do. Like it needs a human to tell it, like, this is what's supposed to be going on. So now we've got rid of a lot of the quick wins that we can do via code. We're definitely going to have some some tutorials to help you like get the most out of the page importer when you've actually got to do some stuff yourself. Most definitely. Oh, nice. Okay. Sorry, Robert has just given me like some starting details on PayPal's credit system. I will certainly look into it myself. If you have any more details, if you could send it to support@convertri.com and mark it for my attention, please. I'd love to know more about that. That's definitely the kind of thing we want to support. But being in the UK, I don't necessarily have as much awareness as perhaps some American guys will. I presume you're American because of your interest in it. Maybe you're just more worldly wise and better informed than me. Well, I think we're going to have a little bit of a record today. Despite the technical difficulties, it looks like we're actually going to finish with more people on the call than we started. That's very cool. I really like doing these. Webinars used to really stress me out. I find talking at my computer really difficult. Doing these has actually like really helped me with that, and now I really quite enjoy showing up and having this opportunity to chat to you guys. It just feels like a group of people hanging out in a sort of virtual sense. So that's really cool. Like the fact that you guys are like interested enough in what we're doing to give up an hour on your Sunday to come and ask questions and engage and hear what I have to say. Like it really gives me a buzz. So thank you. Oh, nice one, Robert. That's brilliant. I will. I have got a copy of that link, which I won't open live on a webinar because that usually ends badly for me when I try and do that. Yeah, actually, this is a good question that I want to bring up in the group. Jim saying when designing with hidden elements, stuff can get quite busy. Any ideas to make it easier? They're definitely, unlike a lot of questions that come up like this, we've actually got answers for. For example, when people are like, oh, it takes ages to add something to the top of the page, and I can tell you to hold down the shift key and drag stuff down to create space and then pull it back up again. We have thought about it and we've got a solution. We don't yet have a solution for like a specific, we've got this control, this widget, this thing for when the page has lots of hidden elements. So if you've got any thoughts on like it would be great if there was this widget, this control, this way of working with it, I'd love to know because that's one we haven't cracked yet. Hey Mario, the recording will be basically we send out the recordings, we'll post it in the Facebook group, it'll be sent out via email, and then they should all be on help.convertri.com for the webinar replays. I think that's where Neil's been putting them up. I'm really embarrassed that I don't actually know the answer to that. I will double check and make sure I know for the future. All of the tutorials should have been updated as of sort of yesterday, and they'll all be up in the next week to work with a new interface in terms of like working with layers and so on. That could work. So having sort of like almost a hidden elements container because my experience is hidden elements tend to be, when you're working with a lot of them, they're together on the page. So having that sort of thing, that could work pretty well. Cool. We seem to be drying up for questions. I'll be around for. I was planning to do an hour today. So if there's anything else, we've got another 5 minutes or so, guys. If there's anything else you'd like to ask about, feel free. If you've got like more of a sort of marketing-y question rather than Convertri stuff, feel free to ask one of those. Put me on the spot. I'll see if I can answer it as something a little bit different to finish up if you'd like. These are the periods where I'm always very jealous of the sort of slightly more extroverted marketers, slightly more experienced, like not actors, but just like people who are used to being on stage, giving presentations and so on. A lot of my mates in the marketing space are just very natural on webinars, and when there's a moment of dead air, they're just like they've got a story to tell or something quite cool. I'm always a bit like, I don't know what to say, and the sort of the pauses always feel much longer to me than I think they actually are. Excellent. Okay, so I think we're done with the Q&A for today. Then, as I say, I will, all being well, I will just redo. We will do the form demo stuff sort of same time next week. We'll send out all the details via email. My humblest apologies once again for the issues. I'm glad we at least got the sound stuff dealt with. Cool. That just leaves me to say thank you very much to everyone for coming out. I know I say this every time, but I do really appreciate it that you guys give up time on your Sundays to come and hang out and talk about the software that I'm building. It makes me really happy, particularly on a day like today when I was having really not a great day. So thank you everyone, and I will see you again on the next one. We're going to continue doing these regularly, and I'll try and make sure the next one's much sooner than normal, so we can get some form demos done. Thank you, everyone. You enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Cheers.